Hello guys. For today's video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a more advanced Angular controller inside of AEM, and we're also going to be dealing with endpoints. All right, so for doing that, what we need to do here first is we're going to open up our code, and one important part that's actually been built into the application for a long time here is if we go here and look for the main file app.js, you're going to see that there's this variable. And as you can see in the code, it says on the comment here, the following line should always be commented out unless we're testing locally. For any production deployment, again, the line must always be commented. Since we're doing this stuff locally, I have it uncommented. And the reason behind that is because uh, the endpoints usually are in a different server or maybe in a different environment or perhaps in the same server, but they come from different application. So we usually do not have access to them. And we definitely need to do something in order to test that our application works. So in order to do that, let's do a test, a real quick test of how this would work. So first of all, let's go here and create a new service. So I'm going to create a new file here, and we're going to save this one as what would be a good name? Maybe something like get data. Get. So once we do that, we can start writing our service. Uh, we're going to call it get data service function. And then we're going to place a get here, and we're going to be injecting a couple of uh, libraries. We're going to be injecting Q to be able to use promises, and we're going to be injecting HTTP to be doing some HTTP calls. Um, Same goes here, and I mean this first part is only for minification process. So once we do that, we can place it here, and then we can create some kind of uh, object here for options, maybe, and we can say that the get data endpoint is probably going to be located on, I don't know, this address. Um, Again, since we're testing locally, this is really not going to be calling that place at all, or it's not going to be doing anything. So, uh, but we're going to set it up completely to kind of show how this would work. So then we create our variable or our function to actually retrieve the data. Let's go here, and so we're going to be using a defer here first for the promise, and then we're going to be using something like I don't know, service data object so that we can retrieve that information. So usually this would be something like HTTP, and then we would place here our method, and this is going to be a simple get method, and with a URL that we already have here, so it should go from options get data endpoint, and then this is a promise, and on response we're going to do something, and if it uh, fails, reject, we're going to do something else. So first here, before reject, and uh, basic console log. So error endpoint, and we're going to place here which so, options that get data endpoint. So that failed. And fail means that we got the information correctly. So service data, which is where we're going to be storing our data, is going to have response.data, and we're going to resolve the promise, and we're going to be sending that service data. So basically, that would be the outline for this to actually work. And I mean, this would really be a working. Well, we need to return that. Otherwise, it's not going to do anything. So yeah, I mean, basically, this is a very basic outline for a service, and if we add, we're gonna make it available. So get data. This is a callable complete service, but since we're working with endpoints and we do not have access to this API get data address locally, it's only on the development server or the test server. What we need to do is we need to force the issue a little bit. So if we go back here to the app.js file, we will remember that we have this mock data variable. So what we are going to do here is we're going to a little bit. So if we're not using the mock data, that means that this is on a live server. So if we're not doing that, then sure, go ahead and do all the things that you should have done from the get-go, and that's completely fine. But if we are using the mock data, if we are, that would tell us that we're in a local environment. So we should create something like service data, and we're just gonna fill this up with something. So let me go here and say, I don't know what. Well, let's place a first name. We're gonna call the guy John, and last name, and we're gonna call him Joe. And then let's provide maybe an address. That's pretty good. So city, Charlotte, state, Carolina, and zip code. I don't think we need anything else. So, okay, so basically that would be us building this service data, and then we can do the same thing. We solve the promise, but with this object. So that way we already have, so now we have a service here that will go grab the information from either the live endpoint, or if we're using mock data, it will grab it from mock data directly. And that way we can test our controller inside of AEM working correctly. So that's one part of it. Then we need to create a controller. So let's do that. Let's go here, new file, and we're gonna save it as data read. I don't know. Yeah, data read seems fine. So we're gonna do something similar. Function. Oh, it should be an ify. Use strict. So a very simple thing. We're gonna call it data read controller, and we're gonna be using scope, and we're going to be using get data service, which is the service we just created. So then we're going to have full name because we have the first name and last name. So let's do something here. And the address, I'm just going to retrieve the information directly. What else do we need to do? Well, we need to inject stuff. So let's do that. Inject, place here scope, and data service because that's the actual service that we created, and Angular module support EMC controller and data read control and data read control. So that's good. Inside here, let's do something simple. So let's create a function. We're going to call it init, and we're going to place here something simple like the call to the actual data service. So get data service data, because that's the name of the actual function that does things, and that is visible externally. And since this is a promise, and we're gonna do this, then function response, and let's just place a reject here. And right, so okay, so we're calling the service, and what we're gonna do here is we're gonna use these variables. We're gonna set the full name as basically very simple concatenation of first name, space here, and the last name. And then we're gonna just use the address object as it comes directly from from the service. So there we have it. I mean, this specific controller is going to be using this service to read information from the endpoint and make it available for our application. I mean, the mock data obviously is something that should map the actual response that we would get on a live server. Otherwise, this really would become a problem. But I mean, if we use the correct value here or the correct data, then this will allow us to work in a very easy manner and use real mock data that will actually be worth it in to testing our application. So, all right, so we have the controller and we have the service. So first of all, first we need to add a new template where we can use it. So we're gonna we're gonna go to components, content, support dynamic data, and we're gonna create a new one here, and we're gonna call it. What are we gonna call it? We're gonna call it template underscore data.html. So basically, what we're gonna be doing here is we're gonna be copying from another one. So I'm gonna do that right now. I'm gonna be copying this one here, this warning, so that we can only use this template or this component in a particular template. So once I do that, I'm just gonna create something really quickly here. Div controller. It's called that read control, and inside of it, I'm just gonna do something very simple. I'm just gonna place here username, and I'm gonna be using full name, which is actual variable that I created on the controller. And I'm just gonna place here something like an horizontal rule to make it evident that I'm skipping. Then I'm gonna add an address div, and I'm gonna use the city, and I'm gonna add a comma, and then I'm gonna add the state here, and then I'm just gonna do something like address zip file just to show all that information. And also, for good measure, I'm going to throw in an ng clock directive here, just to make sure that this only shows up once it's done rendering. So, okay, we have the service, we have the controller, and we have the template that is going to be calling it. What we need to do now is two things. First of all, we're going to go and open that JS file where we modify everything. So that's on support, etc design support assets JS support base js.txt. So here we're gonna be creating, we're gonna be adding it here to the services. So that's support Angular and services, and that one was called get data service.js. And for the controllers, we're gonna place it here on support Angular controllers, and that one was called data.js. I'm gonna save that one. I'm gonna close it. I don't really need it anymore. And the other thing that we got pending here is to actually make AEM understand what we're gonna do, which is something that we did on the other controller video that from yesterday. But I'm gonna be doing it again. So basically, you open this one up, dialog XML. I'm just gonna copy this one and I'm gonna call it 8. What we did yesterday, and we're gonna call this one get, and I'm gonna call it as the name of the template. So template underscore get data. So I'm gonna call it get data. Basically, this will allow me now to uh, to select that option inside of AEM. So what we're going to do here is we're going to just run our deploy command. I think we have everything in place now. We have the template, we have the modification to the dialog XML so that the component of AEM knows what we are expecting, and we have the Angular controller as well as the Angular service that is going to be reading for that is going to be connecting us to the endpoint, or in this case, the mock data. So let's make this one run, and in the meantime, let's open up our AEM environment. So I don't think I have opened it up yet. Admin, admin, and let's see how this is going. Still a little bit more to go. Uh, Again, as usual, I'm just gonna open the JS file separately so that I can refresh that value and just make sure that the latest is in place. Okay, so it says that the build succeeded. So let's see what we have here. So by updating this page, I should be able to see get data. What's its name? Data read CTRL. Okay. So I mean, I see the data read controller, and the other service should be around here, which was called get data service. So we should be able to see it somewhere. There it is. So we have the service available, and we also have the controller available. So now let's go to AEM and to the site admin. We're now going to open up a page. I'm just going to open this one, profile template. Uh, all right, so now that the page has actually loaded, we can go ahead and add that component. So basically, we will be using this one, support dynamic data, where is the one where we added uh, that new option to choose the get data template. So I'm adding it here. I'm going to click on edit. And then the one that we're going to display is the new one, which we have here, get data. And we're going to click OK. So since I'm running with mock data, we should be able to see the information coming directly from the mock data. So there's nothing. So I probably botched something in the code. So let's see. The service looks okay, and the controller is not okay. So you see, I defined the variable or the function, but I'm never calling it. So that evidently will never do anything. So let's just play again. That is obviously not going to work. And well, once it does that, well, it does that. Let's go back here and minimize this one. But let's see what we have here. So I'm going to open developer tools, and I see that all the information that I wanted is correct, except for the actual data, of course. So I'm going to close this one up, and I'm going to wait for this one to complete. Once it's done, which seems to be getting close to doing it. Uh, all right, so there it goes. Now it's built, and I'm gonna go back here, and I'm gonna refresh this one just to make sure that again I have the latest version. So there we go. This is the data service, and the one was data read CTRL. There we go, scoping it. So I refresh this one. I should be able to see the changes now in place and the data coming from the endpoint, or in our case, from the mock data. So, okay, refreshing this one. And if I move below, there we have it, username, John Doe, and the address, Charlotte, North Carolina, and that zip code. So, yeah, I mean, that's basically the way where we are doing these kind of things. All right, so well, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's the way that we're handling these kind of things on the OLS project. Basically, we need to create a service that's gonna have the URLs that we're going to be accessing on the endpoints. If we do not have the endpoint available, which is pretty much happening with uh, almost every endpoint, then we have to create a mock data. And in order to access that mock data, then we just need to set it up as we did here with the app.js variable window.mock data. Again, this is a way that we're doing this in order for it to be able to be tested here locally. And also very important, this is crucial for us to be able to do unit testing. Um, Unit testing will be tackled upon on an upcoming video, but for now, I hope this one helps you, and let me know what you think. I will see you guys tomorrow.